Now,
Recovery doesn't start tomorrow.
calling all angels.
Recovery starts right now. And here to help is Rated R for Recovery.
Calling all you angels. Now. Calling all angels. Now. Calling all you angels.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Rated R for Recovery. And the website is ratedr4recovery.com. Check us out on the Facebook. Pass us around on Facebook as well. We actually have two Facebook little things going on. We have a Facebook page, and then we have a Facebook group. So join the groups, and the more networking we can do together, the more we can spread a message of hope. I'm an addict and alcoholic. My name's John.
Hey, John.
John.
And my co-host at the other end of this table is...
I'm an alcoholic. My name's Joy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joy. Joy, in one question I have for you.
What do you got?
What is Rated R for Recovery?
Rated R for Recovery is a recovery-based, faith-driven program bringing healing and restoration to individuals and families impacted by addiction. Through interviews, sharing information, and entertainment, we strive to be a catalyst for change for all who wish to recover.
Very good. Before we go in further into the show, we have some recognition that we'd like to give people when they reach pinnacles of sobriety. No, pinnacle is not the right word. Pinnacle means the top, right? And there is no ending to sobriety or recovery for that matter. But we have our co-producer Eileen Kay,
Ooh, yeah.
who celebrated 10
10
years,
years.
and Eileen is one of the catalysts for the show. We'd also like to thank Raylene, who is another executive or co-producer who's working behind the scenes. Have a nice round of applause for Raylene. And our executive producer, that would be Mark S., ladies and gentlemen. He built this set. He put this whole thing together. So let's have a nice round of applause for Mark.
Down to the smallest detail.
So Eileen celebrated 10 years of continuous sobriety just the other day. Your husband, Art Vandelay, he will receive 29 years?
29
tomorrow?
years tomorrow, if he stays
if
sober.
He makes it.
That's
if he
right.
Makes it, yes.
Very dangerous time.
We'd like to thank, and it is a dangerous time, she said. Okay. We'd like to thank our sponsors, too, JCI Solutions, the painting contractor, Next Step, which is a dual diagnosis treatment center, Brian Edwards, who's a criminal defense attorney, White Sands Treatment Center, Shamrock Bail Bonds, in case you ever know somebody that gets in a little jam and needs to be bailed out of jail. Okay, Phoenix House Recovery Center, and Celebrate Recovery. But most of all, our host to this show and our partner in this journey is Kimmies Recovery Zone.
Thank you so much.
Now, speaking of Kimmies Recovery Zone, one of the things that they had actually started a movement in Lee County, Charlotte County, and Collier County, and that's the production, or not the production, but the distribution of Narcan, life-saving stuff that when people are taking a little bit too much of fentanyl or heroin and get themselves in a bit of a jam, this can bring people back to life. So that is available here at Kimmies Recovery Zone. If you want to take a box and put it in your car, you're welcome to do that. Ladies and gentlemen listening at home, if you'd like to write to the show at ratedrforrecovery.com and request some, we'll send it to you. Whatever we can do to help, we're going to help. And that's that. So let's move on to our first guest, who's been a friend of mine for quite some time. We were out there together, and we got sober, and here we are today, ladies and gentlemen. One of the key employees to Kimmies Recovery Zone, and one of the key men in recovery, and just an absolute good guy, and an example for everyone. Please welcome Pedro N. to the show. Now, Pedro.
Yeah.
What you want? The good thing about having Pedro on the show is I can just ask him one question and then I can go take a nap, because Pedro can talk and he can tell his own story. So I'm going to let him do that. Go, Pedro.
Okay, thank you. How you guys doing tonight? My name is Pedro. I am an addict. I am an alcoholic. I am addicted to anything that is addictive.
Yes, you are.
John said I was a nice guy. There was a time I once wasn't. But so let me just get started with the basics, how it all started. I was the youngest of three, the only male. And in the very beginning, I just knew something was off. I had many acquaintances, not really much friends. You know, I always wanted to fit in, and I felt that I couldn't fit in. And it wasn't until, you know, later on in sobriety that I realized maybe I was never meant to fit in, you know? So in the very beginning, I had all these character defects that at the time, they benefited me. I was a quiet kid. By the age of 7, my father was out of the picture. I listened to direction. You didn't really have to tell me much. I was kind of self-sufficient from an early age. So I gained a lot of trust with my mother. So she really never questioned me. And then by the time I got into middle school, same thing. I was quiet. You know, you didn't have to tell me much. I did what I had to do. Still felt like I didn't fit in and something was off. But by middle school, I was angry. I had no idea what I was angry at. I was angry at the world for reasons I couldn't find. And that was around the time I got in trouble, you see, because I didn't have accountability. My mother trusted me. I was quiet. I did what I had to do. My room was clean. Chores were done. Nobody ever had to tell me to do anything. So I gained a lot of trust. And with that came no accountability. I could go out and do whatever I wanted to do. I got in trouble with the law around the age of 14. I committed a burglary of an occupied dwelling. There was nobody in the house. There was a little dog, but they consider that occupied dwelling. So that was my first run-in with the law. And then I got older. Well, by the time I was, you know, in middle school, again, I was experimenting with the marijuana, the alcohol. I could sneak drinks from my mother's cabinet and then fill it up with water. She wouldn't know the difference until I drank too much, and then it tasted watered down. And so, yeah, alcohol, weed, and man, by the age of 15, you know, there was hard drugs in there. There was cocaine in there. And by that time, I was just, you know, I was lost, angry, afraid, but I wouldn't admit that I was afraid, you know, but really everything stemmed with fear, you know.
How did you express your anger back then? When you say you were angry, how did you vent that?
Oh, I didn't, John. I suppressed everything. Everything was suppressed. Nobody really knew I had a problem. I knew I had a problem, right? So now we're in high school, right? Again, I'm angry. I follow orders. I'm disciplined. I do what I have to do, and then you know, I have this on and off with you know, drugs and alcohol, and then I saw something that would change my life forever. I was in history class, and I was under the influence, and that was September 11th. And I saw the Twin Towers get hit by the planes. So I figured, you know what, that's my calling. That's what I want to do. What better place for me? I follow directions. You know, I listen. I'm angry. You know, what better thing to do than to hand a young man an unlimited supply of ammo and send him off to war? So that's what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, I tried to get in at the age of 17, and I couldn't. They wouldn't let me in. I had an extensive juvenile record, so I went on with my life, you know, still angry, upset, sad, depressed, everything that comes with, you know, suppressing your emotions and not knowing what to do with it. So by then,
was law enforcement in that train of thought when you said, you know, you wanted to be in the military? You couldn't get in because of your whatever happened, but
no, John, I wanted to shoot people. Law enforcement was not.
That was it. You really wanted to shoot people.
That's what I wanted to do. Yeah, I was angry. That's
Thanks
what I
for your
wanted to
honesty.
do.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know, I went on with my life. I moved on. I dropped out of high school. I got a full-time job, right, because that was the smart thing for me to do. And then by the age of 20, I got married, and I had a son. But what I forgot to take into account was that I had been still trying to get into the military this whole time. So I had signed a release form stating that I didn't have to go to the recruiters anymore. Every month they would just submit my application. And so now I'm married. I got a son. I'm 3 months old. And then in 2007, the war was bad enough. They're like, hey, buddy, we'll let you in. We got a waiver for you. Come on in. We need everybody we can. So I kissed my wife and my son goodbye. He was 3 months old, and I went to basic. And that's when it became real. I finished basic in AIT in Fort Knox, Kentucky. And before that, before I joined, right, they said, you know, well, I had to take an ASVAB test. And I scored pretty good on it. For being a dropout out of high school, I scored pretty good on my ASVAB. So they were like, you know, out of all these jobs, what do you want? And I said, I don't know much about the military, but I want to be first in. I want to experience war. I don't want to go to an all-you-can-eat buffet and eat one plate. I want everything. So that's what we did.
Did you actually tell them you wanted to shoot people?
I told him I wanted to experience war. No, I didn't think that would go well with the psych evaluation part of it.
Oh, it was a psych, yeah.
But remember, I'm an addict, so I know how to manipulate my way into things.
Absolutely.
So that's what I did. I chose, I seen a video for 19 Delta, Cavalry Scout, Reconnaissance, first in, last out. I was sold. That's what I wanted to do. And that's what I did. So I went to basic training, finished AIT, and that's when it became all too real. Right after I graduated, they gave me orders. They said, you have 2 weeks to report to Baghdad, Iraq. So I went to Fort Myers, back to Fort Myers. I picked up my wife and my kid and took them to Fort Stewart, Georgia. That's where my home station was. I had 2 weeks, and I kissed them goodbye, and I went off to my first deployment. Again, war's war, right? But part of me loved it. And now, the military was something I wanted to do. It was my dream. Yeah. And that was enough to keep me away from the mind-altering substances. I didn't drink. I didn't do drugs. I loved it that much. And I became an adrenaline junkie. I didn't even know that was a thing, but that was my fix. That's what I loved. That's what I needed. And that's what I had. And I was good at it. For the first time in my life, I had an outlet for my anger, my emotions, and really suppressing everything kind of benefited me, because it's kind of benefits to be angry at war, right? So that's what I did. I came back from my first deployment, and I came back different. I came back changed, Again, now I'm a soldier, right? So I have that on my head. I can't show weakness. I can't be soft. And I didn't know what to deal with the trauma that I had experienced. So part of me didn't want to come back. I didn't want to come back. But I did. I still miss my wife and my son, but I didn't know how to be a father, and I didn't know how to be a husband. I didn't have emotions at that time because everything was suppressed. I felt them inside, but nobody knew it. And I didn't have an outlet. So even though I was back home for a year, I really wasn't. I wasn't, because I was always training for that next war. And I needed my fix, man. I couldn't wait. So, a lot of things happened between my wife and my son, mostly because, I didn't want to look at myself and my actions and how I was treating them. And really, in reality, at that time, I didn't feel like I was treating them any way but fair. But I know now I wasn't. So I thought that was her problem, and it would soon become mine. So next deployment, here we go. I'm ready to go. And I kissed my wife and son goodbye. And I knew something was off. And I remember saying, you're not going to be here when I get back. She said, probably not. I said, fuck it. I'll deal with that when I get back. I need my fix. So part of me still entertained the thought that, she was just bluffing. But 3 months into my second deployment, I got divorce papers. And again, I didn't tell anybody about it. The only people who knew were the chaplain who hand-delivered. They pulled a mission. They hand-delivered me the divorce papers. I was ordered to sign them. My platoon sergeant knew, and my lieutenant knew. I didn't tell anybody else.
Did you process it at the time?
No, there's no time to process at war. John, if you let me speak, I will tell you about that. No, I did not process anything at that time because it's war. And a part of me didn't want to process it, right? And that because I didn't process it and have the time to process it, that's what screwed me up when I came back from my second deployment. Again, I entertained the thought that my wife and my son, they would be there at that parade field, and we could make things up, and I would make things right. They weren't, John. So because I didn't process any in all of that, with additional compound trauma that war brings, I got in trouble. I started drinking alcohol, right? Because alcohol, that's not frowned upon in the military. It doesn't matter when you drink, how you drink. You can show up to PT formation, 0500, drunk, and that's what I did. And I got my first DUI. Well, my only DUI. I got it on post. And thank God back then, when you get a DUI on post, it remained on post. You didn't get in trouble on the civilian side. Nowadays, it's different. So I got a DUI. I come back from my second deployment. The war was over. So they gave me an option. They said, listen, that's when I came clean about my divorce, that I was dealing through some stuff. So they said, listen, the war's over. Obama's thinning out the military. We're going to give you two options. You can get out on general under honorable conditions, or you can start all over again. And I said, you know what? No, I want to get out. I want to try to get my wife and my kid back. And that was my dream. I gave up my dream, the military, to chase a dream that was actually no longer achievable, because what I didn't take into account is the fact that I had been gone for a whole year. So the problem was new to me, and it was old to them. They lived a whole life, a whole year without me there, and they grew past that. So I got out of the military, and now, again, lost, afraid, pissed off, no wife, no kid, and I gave up my dream for a dream that was no longer attainable. So now I didn't have Uncle Sam as my accountability, and I needed chaos that I could control. I needed that adrenaline fix, but the war that I fought in my head was so much worse than the physical war. In the physical war, at least you have, ammunition and, buddies to have your back. In the mental war, all you have is the mirror, and I wasn't willing to face that mirror. I wasn't. And
they say you can't fix your sick mind with your sick mind.
no, and I tried, right? Because yeah, I tried. I tried to replace, one thing for the other. I tried to trade this for that. Everything that comes with addiction. And man, my addiction took off so quick. I was in the hard drugs right off the bat. I had over $30,000 cash from not spending any money in deployment, and I spent it all within, I don't know, 6 months, maybe, if that. But then I learned, I learned a lot about myself, and a lot of those assets that I had picked up from the military, I used them in the streets, and then I actually gained a lot of assets that I know today that are still of value to me now. I was homeless. I was hungry. I was angry. I was lonely. I was tired. I had suicidal ideations. I looked in the mirror and I did not like that man I became. I got out of the war so I could be with my son. I got out of the military so I could be with my son, and my addiction didn't even allow that. I was out of my son's life for 6 years. For 6 years, I was out of his life, and he's the reason that I got out. And that was my addiction that took over me. It wouldn't allow me to do anything but feed that addiction. And man, it was probably the best. It took everything away from me, and I learned that everything taken away from me was exactly everything I needed in order to change, right? I was able to live through every piss-poor decision I made in my life. I was able to live through the incarcerations, the detoxing on the 4th floor in downtown Lee County Jail. If you don't know what that's like, please, you don't ever want to know what it's like. But fuck around and find out. It's horrible. It's horrible. So I did the probably the most logical and best thing I could ever do. I just got out of being incarceration after 2 years fighting a trafficking fentanyl charge. And while I was incarcerated, I had all these great ideas. Yeah. I'm going to get out, I'm going to get a job, I'm going to do right, I'm going to go to meetings, I'm going to get sober, I'm going to get, reconciliation with my son. I had all these great ideas, but that's all they were. They were only ideas, because when they said, Pedro, ATW, pack up, I was hitting a rock right in the parking lot of Marcino Motel. And within 3 months of being incarcerated, or within 3 months of being out of incarceration for 2 years, I was homeless, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, depressed, and still angry for reasons I had no idea why. And that's the first time that I said, I'm going to go get some help. And I went into detox. I stayed like an extra 3 days. They had to kick me out of detox. But the thing was, I still had money in my pocket when I left detox. So when I left detox, I remember battling, the addiction, and then, what I know now to be my higher power. And I was going to go get high that day. But I knew if I got high that day, I was going to die. So for the first time ever, I made the biggest foxhole prayer I could ever make. I looked up at the sky, and I'll never forget it. I said, God, I need you to move a mountain, because today is the day that I'm going to die. And believe me, when I tell you jails, deaths, and institutions could not change me, they didn't, because I've overdosed countless times. Lee Memorial, no exaggeration, probably has a dozen records of my overdose cases being in there. If it wasn't for the Narcan that was out on the street, that's more than a dozen right there. But, for some reason, God allowed me to live through every piss-poor decision. So I looked up at the sky, I said, God, I need you to move a mountain. Today's the day I'm going to die. I walked from detox. I don't know where I was walking. I just walked, and I ended up in downtown Fort Myers. I saw a building called the Human and Veteran Services, and I knocked on that door. I said, I'm a veteran. I'm an addict. I'm not under the influence, but I'm going to die today because I'm going to get high. So they called a place called Kimmies Recovery. If you haven't heard about it, they're a great organization. Look them up. They're one of the largest distributors of free Narcan. That probably most likely saved my life. So it was the speed that Kimmies Recovery took that saved my life. And there were many avenues that were there to save my life, right? But Kimmies was one of the biggest ones. So Kimmies Recovery, they came within 30 minutes, and that was great that they came within that time, because I was going to go off. Another 5 minutes, I'd have been gone. my decision was made. I was going to go get high. But they came and they said, listen, son, what's going on? I met Al Kinkle. If you guys haven't met him, he's a great guy, Al Kinkle. And he said, we're going to take you to St. Matthew's house. I said, St. Matthew's house? I said, yeah, you know anything about it? I said, no. So they took me to St. Matthew's house. I went into Campbell Lodge, and they signed me up for Justin's Place. It's a year-long men's recovery Christian discipleship program. It was the best year that I never, ever want to do again. And I don't have to do it again. Mm-hmm. So I stayed in Justin's Place. It was the first time that I met a bunch of people, right, that cared for me, that wanted the best for me, that brought me up, that helped me build that solid foundation, because I had no foundation whatsoever. I didn't know where to start from. But like I said, having nothing is everything that I needed to build that solid foundation. So I completed the program, and I did it flawlessly, right, because I was still good with, following directions, listening, being quiet, trying to get under the radar. But it was the me trying to get under the radar that put me on the radar. So when I graduated that program, they offered me an internship position. And that was the first time that I thought, you know what? What a great thing. And really, only God can do this. Turn my biggest weakness into my biggest asset. Like, who does that? Who does that? My experience doesn't have to be in vain. My addiction doesn't have to be in vain. That program saved my life. And it was through Kimmies Recovery, Al Kinkle, the St. Matthew's House program, my case manager, all the people that had a part into that God placed in my life. Because it wasn't just one thing, it was many. It was jails, institutions, it was being incarcerated. It was experiencing all that, and that could benefit me today. I made restoration with my son. He's 18 years old now. He's going to come visit me for Christmas. I talked to him, not as much as I'd like to, but, he's more of a texter. I guess they all are nowadays. But regardless, my son went from calling me homie to pops to dad, I love you, But it took over 2 years, The fruits that I'm receiving now were planted, the seeds were planted 2 years ago. But that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for that yet, right? I didn't have this yet. I didn't have my son yet. I didn't have a job yet. So I waited for that yet, and when that yet came, it just came, right? I followed direction, and I listened, and I took advice from people who knew what the fuck they were talking about, because I didn't. So now here I'm an internship in St. Matthew's House, and they offered me a position for a case manager. And I was like, wow, of course I'll take that. But my heart was set on Fort Myers, coming back to Fort Myers. I wanted to come back to I was born and raised in Fort Myers. I wanted to come back to the very town that I caused all this destruction and chaos in, and I wanted to help. They say if you're in addiction, you stay away from people, places, and things. But if you're an addict who's been saved, you go back to those very same people, places, and things, and you help them out of that hole that you just got out of. When you have the opportunity to speak, even though I don't like to, I do it because it glorifies my higher power, the one who brought me to where I'm at. So any chance I can to boast about what he did for me, I will. I will.
And that's what makes addiction a blessing.
It is, in disguise, but you got to wait for that time. There's so much potential out there on the streets right now. There's so much potential out in Lee County Jail. But you know where the most potential is that you'll probably never meet? The cemeteries.
Oh.
And that's how real this shit is. Cemeteries, that's where you'll end up. That's where I almost ended up and could have ended up. But for the glory of God, I didn't. And he turned my biggest weakness into my biggest asset. And that is my experience, my strength, my hope. I got out of St. Matthew's House, and I did the podcast with John Nichols 7 months ago. And guess who I met? I met an old man who saved my life. His name was Al Kinkle. I came up to Al and I said, hey, Al. I said, do you remember me? He looked at me and says, holy shit, you look about 50 pounds heavier. And I was. And man, what a blessing it was to have met him that day. And then they offered me an opportunity to come back to Fort Myers. I was working and living in LaBelle. And everything that I prayed for coming back to Fort Myers, it came into fruition. I came back to the very same organization that saved my life. And I get to do the same thing that they did for me for other people. I get to share my experience, strength, and hope. I get to encourage people who are down in the dumps because I know what it's like. But again, it's through my experience. Because if I didn't know what it was like to be addicted, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, homeless, you guys wouldn't want to hear shit that I'm saying right now. Yeah. You know, but the best movies, if Rocky never got up from being punched in the face, that would have been a horrible movie. The best movies and the best stories are the comeback stories. I'm sitting here in a room full of blessings because we all have our own comeback story. And it's each and every individual's comeback story that will benefit the next person who's waiting on that encouragement, who's waiting to hear somebody's comeback story. Because we don't compare, we relate. And all of us have that ability to relate to that. I know what it's like. I may not have walked in your footsteps. I maybe don't know what you've been through, but I guarantee you we share one common thing. And that was the emotions that we felt that we didn't let out. That was the hopelessness, the despair. It was everything that tore us apart. But that same everything that tore us apart is what builds us up today. And it's a choice. It's a decision that we have to make. But I can tell you right now, it can be done because people saw me over 2 years ago and they said, that's a lost cause right there. But I'm a representation to those people that are incarcerated because I used to be them. I'm a representation of those guys sleeping behind the dumpster right now because that used to be me. Of that person sticking that needle in their vein. I represent them because I was one of them. And I got out of that shithole. And I will help you get out too. So, man, share your story. Life is too big and beautiful. And overcoming your weakness will become your biggest asset in this world. I guarantee it.
Is it okay to talk now?
You may.
Okay, all right,
You
just
may.
checking. So the what God has done for Pedro has done for millions of people. Millions of people. It's just a question of whether I'm done or not, and I can ask for help. I watched Pedro. I came into recovery a little bit before Pedro did, so I saw him when he got out of jail that time. He's talking about one of the times. We've both been incarcerated quite a bit, and we had our paths crossed quite a bit when we were out there, both of us. And I remember pulling up next to you when you were walking down Calvin.
Yeah.
And I said to you, do you want to get in? And I forget what you said. The whole thing was, I'll call you if I need you type of thing.
Yeah, I was going to get a bomb.
And you
not an explosive bomb, a bundle. Yeah.
Yeah, but yes. But anyway, so when I face the fact that I just can't do this anymore, then that's the point where I get in contact with Kimmies Recovery Zone. I get in contact with the wonderful people at the Detox, and I ask for help because I've got a problem and I can't fix it. And Pedro, I believe, said you can't fix a broken mind with a broken mind, and that's what I was told a long time ago. So we join in harmonious brotherhood to carry this message of hope to the people that still suffer. So if you need help and you need to call Kimmies Recovery Zone, if you're listening, I don't know which camera's on right now, probably that one there because the light's on. But you can reach Kimmies Recovery Zone by looking it up on the Facebook or on the internet, and give us a call, and we'll be right there to help pick you up, just like we were right there to pick you up.
Absolutely.
Because I witnessed what you went through because I was going through it with you.
Yeah.
And we don't have to do that today, do we?
No, we don't.
Very good. Give Pedro a nice round of applause. All right, so when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking with Cathy, and Cathy is going to be part of Kimmy's Corner. That's our next segment. You're listening to Rated R for Recovery at ratedrforrecovery.com.
Struggling with life's challenges? At The Next Step, we're here to guide you to a brighter tomorrow. Whether it's counseling, recovery support, or simply finding hope, we provide the tools and community to help you rise. Take the first step toward healing today. Visit thenextstep.org and discover how we can support your journey to wellness. Remember, every step forward is a step toward a better you. The Next Step, your path to hope, starts here. With offices in Fort Myers and Naples, 844-639-8371.
Have you been charged with a crime? You could face serious penalties for conviction, and it is vitally important that you have skilled legal assistance on your side during this time. Call Brian L. Edwards, Esquire, Attorney at Law today. 888-512-6254. Results matter. With a track record of success, our methods are tried and true. Mistakes happen, but we can help. Brian L. Edwards, Esquire, Attorney at Law. Visit FortMyersCriminalLawFirm.com or call 888-512-6254.
Feeling trapped in addiction? White Sands Treatment Center offers more than just detox. We build lasting recovery. With 3 inpatient and 18 outpatient locations located throughout Florida, we offer services from medically supervised detox to inpatient, outpatient, and sober living programs. Our services include individual therapy, family therapy, life skills, and small group sizes. Our amenities include yoga and massage therapy with recreational activities, including gyms, pools, and spa. Newsweek has named White Sands one of America's best addiction treatment centers 5 years in a row. You deserve quality care in a safe, supportive setting. Call White Sands Helpline at 833-423-2338 or visit whitesandstreatment.com and start your recovery journey today.
Welcome to Holy Spark. At Holy Spark, we bring power and reliability to every job. From panel upgrades and EV chargers to lighting installations and troubleshooting, we're dedicated to keeping your home and business running safely and efficiently. With expert craftsmanship, honest service, and free estimates, you can count on us to deliver electrical solutions that shine bright. Contact us today at holy-spark.net or call 239-789-6832.
Not everyone has the luck of the Irish. If a friend or family member is in trouble, call Shamrock Bell Bonds. Put our number into your phone, 239-332-2245, 239-332-2245, or go online at gobailmeout.com. Shamrock Bell Bonds provides fast, reliable service. Shamrock Bell Bonds, 1528 Broadway, downtown Fort Myers. Look for the Shamrock, and maybe luck will be on your side.
Hello, I'm Michael Manzi, owner of JCI Solutions, 239-672-2673. When starting this company 3 years ago, I had no clue that we would grow to what we have become. There is one thing I can say that we have done from the beginning is take pride in our work, making sure every customer we do work for is satisfied from beginning to end. Offering residential painting all the way to commercial painting with jobs done in a timely manner, with highly skilled professionals giving you top-of-the-line work. To help you create your new look, call JCI Solutions, 239-672-2673.
Struggling with addiction? You're not alone. At Phoenix House Project, we believe in second chances and brighter tomorrows. Our proven programs offer support, hope, and tools to rebuild your life. With expert care and a community that understands, transformation starts here. It's time to rise, reclaim your life, and become the best version of yourself. Visit phoenixhouseproject.squarespace.com today or call 239-244-7876. The journey to recovery begins with sober living. Phoenix House Project, where hope takes flight.
Kimmies Recovery Zone, where hope meets action. We're here to guide the journey from treatment to thriving, healthy living. With peer support, public education, and vital resources like housing, employment, and Narcan training, we're building stronger communities. Ready to make an impact? Together, we're creating a network of recovery, resilience, and renewed lives. Kimmies Recovery Zone, your hub for healing and hope. Visit us online today at kimmiesrecoveryzone.org. It's not how we survive, it's how we thrive.
When children have to play inside so they don't disappear.
Welcome back to Rated R for Recovery.
This portion of Rated R for Recovery is brought to you by Kimmies Recovery Zone. That's our home theater. What we say was
home base.
Home base would be the thing. And ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we are fortunate enough to have our friend, our colleague, and the founder of Kimmies Recovery Zone to host Kimmy's Corner, and that's Al Kinkle. Give Al a nice round of applause.
Good evening, everybody. Glad to have you all here tonight. We got a great guest. A dear friend of mine that we know each other for a few years and just played a big part in my life in many different ways. And Cathy, thank you for being here tonight.
You're welcome. I've known Al since Kimmy's Recovery Zone was a twinkle in his eye.
Yeah,
nice.
I was a little baby then. Now I'm a big baby. But yeah, Cathy and I go back. And Cathy was on our board at one time. And Kimmies Zone, and then you left and traveled a little bit.
I did.
And found your home is still here in South Florida, which I think everybody, once you leave here and come, you find out that I got to go back. Fort Myers is such a beautiful place. Southwest Florida is just gorgeous. People are great here, and it draws you back. If you leave, you come back.
And
that's for
recovery
sure.
is big here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, did you ever leave and come back?
No, I just came.
You just say, okay.
I came down here in 90,
Okay.
1990.
1990. Oh, my God. That was the year I was born, 1990.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It was a nice year.
I was going to say, how old were you then? 2, 3?
Oh, geez, I don't even want to mention that. I'll be getting cards tomorrow. No. But at any rate, whatever age I am, I feel great for the time being, and I'm glad to be here tonight. So let's get into a little bit of Savage Grace, and such a powerful title. And what led you to do that, to do Savage Grace and write a manuscript?
Well, Savage Grace was the product of me in my own recovery, trying to figure out life. I had spent decades pushing down, as Pedro had mentioned, pushing down feelings and the trauma, the burnout, and the emotional debris that builds up when you're always having to be the strong one. I'm the oldest of 4 kids and shouldered a lot of responsibility in a very violent, chaotic, alcoholic house. And I have carried that emotional burden for many, many years now. I am in my 70s and finally decided that it's time to figure that stuff out. So Savage Grace was born when I moved to Virginia to take another job because I was so burned out and so depressed and so lost here in Fort Myers. I thought I needed new geography, new job, new people in my life. What I really needed was to finally unload all the crap that I've been carrying around for these many decades. And I realized as I sat up in Virginia in a tiny little apartment that was suffocating me and my little toy rescue poodle that I have, that I was in the wrong place and I didn't really know how to get out of it. So I started writing. And when I started writing, it just opened up this floodgate. And I realized after I had finished this manuscript that I have been living in a period of grace. This Virginia trip was a period of grace for me. But as I told Al, sometimes grace is hard to come by, and sometimes it's very fierce. And writing this manuscript was really a big portal for me to open up and get into.
So what led you to write? These are things that were in your life that you just could not ignore. So you really felt the need to write, especially with what we do. A lot of us get burned out, and so we get burned out. What's the way to get out of being burned out? Is that something you?
Yeah, so I talk a lot about resilience in the book, and I think that recovery runs through the whole book, basically. It's not just from substances, but from people-pleasing, perfectionism, trauma, and the ways we abandon ourselves to stay afloat. I write about resilience and reinvention and learning to live from a place of integrity rather than from a place of survival. And I think that's where the big difference came for me when I was in Virginia. I stopped trying to survive and just took a good, strong look at myself and what I was doing and what I was ignoring. And at the heart of it, the message in this book is basically, you're not what they called you. You're not too thin, you're not too fat, you're not too ugly, you're not too worthless, you're not too stupid, or any of those horrible things that people have said about you in the past. And you're not the worst mistake you ever made.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finally realized that those were the things buzzing around in my head and the things that I was really tying myself up in knots about, that's when I started finding who I really was. And basically, there was a piece of me that had been suppressed for many, many years, and that was my artistic, creative side. I had a mom who was pretty critical, and she absolutely didn't want anything to do with creativity. That doesn't pay the bills.
Right.
Absolutely not.
And so I suppressed that, and I became a physician assistant, and I've been one now for 30 plus years. And all of a sudden now I'm writing, I'm creating art that I absolutely love. I'm a painter. I didn't know I could do this stuff, and there it is. So
That is so great.
It's really been a surprising evolution over these last 8 to 9 months.
Yeah, so burned out leads us to be not as creative as we can be, and looking and searching for a way out of being burned out, so to speak, is through art and through writing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there's a lot of us here that do a lot of writing. When you do a journal and do things like that, I mean, that is so important. I just started writing a little bit of a book too. And when I do that, I feel so much better. So with me, what chapter really rung a bell with you in your life? What chapter? I mean, we're talking about burnout, we're talking about different things, you're talking about your family, but what chapter in there really rings a bell for you that really helped you out a little bit to move you forward?
I don't know if there was a specific chapter. I am, when I look back at the things that I wrote and the experiences that I've had, I was a 16-year-old pregnant female who dropped out of high school and basically scrambled for her life for a long time. And a good part of those younger years were I was drinking and I was into all sorts of different substances and living underneath a diner because that's where I felt safe.
Right.
Girl, you are telling my story.
Yeah, and so looking back at that and then looking at where I am right now, I mean, I have been, and I say this with all modesty, I have been a very successful physician assistant for 30 plus years. And I think caring for people and looking and recognizing, I've watched people rise from unthinkable darkness in my career. And those stories and that resilience that I witnessed in recovery communities, in the ICU, in the clinics, it's taught me to believe that transformation isn't a fantasy. It's a practice. It's something we have to work at. And like I said, it's savage grace. It's not easy, but it's there.
We're looking at a room full of people like that have some savage grace in their souls. And we just heard Pedro speak about his experience in life. And I always say that when I sit in a room like this, I'm humbled and I'm grateful to be amongst all you all here and the people that are listening, because the stories that we tell are the stories that change people's lives. And Pedro has certainly done that, and each and every one of you in this room have had the opportunity to tell your stories, and they really do change your life. So that's what you did. That's what you did. You decided, well, I think, anyway, I'm going to take a guess, I want to find a way to put my energies into something else that will help other people. I think whether we know it or not, but at the end of the day, we really want to see other people succeed so that they don't have to go through the same thing that we did. I mean, I'm here for that reason. I've been pretty interesting character in my lifetime. I don't want to see somebody else be as interesting as I was, so to speak. But anyway, you're now a little more mature in age.
A little bit.
That's a nice way of saying it, right?
bit.
I like that. So you're a little mature in age, and you decided that you would step out a little bit further and take a chance at writing, and your artwork is beautiful. But also, too, you're a very famous dancer also. So, yeah, a really great dancer.
I have been a competitive ballroom dancer now for the last 15 years.
Nice.
And I have a couple of national and world titles through the Fred Astaire system. But that, I will tell you that that's another avenue that has really brought out a different side of me that I didn't know was there. It was, again, hiding. And I am very grateful for my time in dancing, another creative outlet that has helped me move forward. I think one of the things that I really feel strongly about is there's a lot of burnout, and we're talking about burnout in healthcare now, and for healthcare professionals, docs, and the nurses, and particularly I have a great heart for the nurses. Nurses taught me how to be a PA, basically, and I think,
will if you let us.
Yeah, exactly. I think that, and in particular, nurses carry tremendous burden in the hospitals, and it's quite amazing to watch these women and men who step up to the plate every time they're called. But eventually, that leads to this horrible disease of burnout. And finding resilience once you get to the point of burnout, it's really hard. And so that's where I want to spread some of my efforts, is in helping my colleagues recognize that first of all, they are burnout. It's not just fatigue, guys. It's burnout. You've been pushed into a small, tiny little hole, and it doesn't look like there's any escape. I think
Pedro talked about that a little bit, just about stuffing your own stuff to take care of this.
Yes.
And you just can't do that forever.
You just aren't going to hold up. There's no question about it. So one of the things that I have done is created my own podcast called Savage Grace, and I just did a series on resilience and where we find resilience. For instance, I actually did a podcast on grief and the resilience that we find in grief. Grief forces us to stop and to really take a good look at loss and how to recover from that. If you don't recover from loss, then you end up in places that you don't want to be. I think that the other thing that resilience, I call it resilience in real life. Many of us work in very unforgiving professions, and it's a space for those who are in recovery and want to sustain their resilience. And I openly talk about burnout and shame and trauma and all of those things that lead us down this path that's hard to recover from.
Yeah, and again, I think we're right in the same arena, so to speak, because we have tremendous burnout, tremendous hard feelings, tough feelings, when we're doing the work that we do for mental health and substance use disorder.
Yep.
But it's, you're in the same arena. It's all health care. We're taking care of people. And I know from the folks that are here doing what they do, they work so very hard, and it's so great when we have the successes that we have. And sometimes the successes are stunted a little bit, and that really does something to us, because we're so committed to that person that we want to help them and we want them to get better, that we're taking so much on that there's a lot of that going on with us. So we have to be very, very careful.
We have to
you
take
know, in
care
this
of
world.
ourselves.
Yeah, you absolutely.
We really do.
It's the part like, when you're in an airplane, you have to put your own oxygen on first before you can help somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there's so many ways to do that, different ways. People use different things that they do in art. Certainly one of them, fitness is another, music is another. There's some great musicians out here, the great singers out here. I don't know if they're going to go on pretty soon. I can't wait. I always love to hear you. But they're tremendous. They're great, great friends too, and very creative. And that's another thing I found, that music really soothes the soul and can help you a lot when you're going through some of those things. Okay, so every storyteller has the moment of real bravery. What part of your story took a lot of bravery for you to write? You said some of the things that happened in your family, but I'm sure there's something else that you can give us.
I think, Al, the hardest part was talking about the shame and guilt that I carried about my own survival behaviors. In my early years, it was about substance abuse. Alcohol was my best friend. And then later, I replaced alcohol with work and overwork at that. My kids grew up without me, essentially, and I felt tremendous guilt about that. And caretaking and achievement and disappearing, knowing how to be invisible was probably the hardest piece for me to get my head wrapped around. But I spent a lot of time trying to be invisible. I didn't want to be seen. And I think that knowing that piece, it's really helped me understand other people's reluctance to come forward and be brave. We learn very early on. Our families teach us, we don't want to hear you, we don't want to see you. And so eventually you learn how to become invisible.
And trauma does that, as well as addiction.
Right.
I used to say, when somebody ignored me or they didn't hear me speak, I would say to myself, oh, I must have turned my powers of invisibility on and I don't know it.
Well, the stigma is really painful. And thank God, in the years that I've watched this go on in the life, mental health and substance use, thank God you talk about the time that your parents, but I just remember those days where the stigma, we think it's bad today, it was so bad. And finally people are coming out of the darkness and turning on the light. And that's really where it's at, because you didn't do that at one time. It was shameful to have a mental health, just not an addiction issue, just a mental health issue. And we're working our ways through that. And some of the things that help is podcasts like your own, and podcasts like this one. And then when we come here and tell a story, we're just turning on all the lights. I'm so excited about the future of our community and what we've done with that community. Lee County has done miracles for us, and it's really showed us a way. Now, does everybody get it? No. It's something that we're working on, but podcasts like this, your story, when you were telling your story, just reminded me so much of people that I've talked to and their stories, and they're coming out of it now. And you working in the healthcare system has done a lot too, also have done a lot.
I think in regards to what you were saying, Al, about we're coming out now, when I was growing up as a kid, like I said, my father was a violent alcoholic, and the cops were at our house every weekend, basically. And even though they showed up and there's blood splattered everywhere, and my mom is almost on her deathbed because he's beat her so bad, and the kids are screaming, that back then, that was a family problem. The cops didn't get involved. And now we've moved forward. Thank God we've moved forward, where women actually have some choices that they can make. And that's one of the things that I'm really happy to see. If I were to die tomorrow, and hopefully not,
No, you're not.
I would be, I'm thrilled that we now have a better picture of what domestic violence looks like.
Yeah, we were talking about it the other day, and it's funny. It used to just be the time when, people worked hard all week, and then they went out and did too much, and then they came home, and then the fights began. And, it really was just a family thing, and people didn't really talk about it, and it was just expected. But we've grown up so much, and so much has changed, and I think the people that's changed it are people like ourselves that are sitting in this room that tell our stories, and those stories, have changed life the way it was, and we're in a new beginning now. I think that's a good way of us thinking that this is a new beginning. And the other thing is like what you're saying, the things you've done because of what happened, the things I've done because of what happened, is that, the past is the past, and we can't change that. And the only thing we can do is make the future bright as we can make that, and that's what we're doing. But the past is over. Whatever we've done or whatever someone has done to us, I forgot about that a long time ago. So it doesn't bother me at all.
Doesn't pay to hold grudges.
We all can do that. The past is the past. Done. Right?
Right.
Good.
Easy to say.
So
But
now,
there's work to be done.
where are you going to go from here now that you're a famous artist?
And dancer.
And a writer. And, the only problem with famous writers and artists is that usually later they become famous.
Yeah, when you're dead, you'll get your props.
Yeah.
Well,
but we want you to be famous.
I'll leave it to you to give me my posthumous. Okay.
I'll do that.
Well, I finally finished carving Savage Grace, and now I'm searching for a publisher. And I am deeply engaged with another book called Savage Medicine, and that delves into the emotional and ethical aspects of caregiving and compassion fatigue and the unseen wounds that are carried by medical professionals and caretakers. I feel compelled to create spaces where healers can heal and that they can openly talk about grief and burnout and shame and purpose and what it means to be human in a system that often demands inhumane endurance.
And I like that you speak of resilience instead of, all of the analogies are good. And we talked about Rocky earlier, that, the best stories are where, fall down 7 times, get up 8. And there's also a bit of stress in that. I fall down again. Oh, I have to get up again. I don't have the strength to do that. But then to have resilience in your life instead of just get up and do it again.
I think that, so you're absolutely right. It takes a certain amount of resilience to get up when you've been beaten down 100 different times. And again, that's Savage Grace, basically. And I will tell you that one of the things, I have a book that's called Life Lessons from the Ballroom. And one of the things I talk about in that book is getting back up. Now, I have been on the competition floor, I can't even begin to tell you how many times, and there have been a number of falls when I have fallen while I was dancing. And I realized that I had 3 choices when I fell. I could sit there and cry and be all upset and storm off the floor, or I could make a big deal out of, oh, it hurts so much and I don't know if I can continue. I'll limp around, or I get up and I just go on dancing. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned from ballroom dancing is you just have to get back up and try one more time.
Life is tough, but it's worth it. Falling down is hard, but it's worth it to get back up.
Yeah,
all right? Because now you're up, you're telling a story, and you're making a difference in people's lives. And I think a lot of us don't understand that. We all talk about, the person that might be suffering in whatever way, they shape or form. But I like to talk about also the people like ourselves. I mean, when we're in active addiction or we have a mental health problem, everybody circles around that person and forgets about the rest of the circle. And the rest of the circle that's left that stand by us, God bless them. I think of them every day who stood by me, and I watched them stand by you. And I'm proud of those people by sticking by us and letting us come back into their lives. Isn't that wonderful?
Amen.
It's really great.
So I was thinking what could I write about? And I think I have the title of listening to you, Life Lessons from the Barroom.
Mm-hmm.
Lessons from, I like that. 100 years of being misdiagnosed. That's my title of my book that I'm writing right now.
1,000 years of misdiagnosis.
100 years of misdiagnosed. And that's, if you think about it, because it's the truth, Anyway, thank you, Cathy. Appreciate that.
Thank
Sue,
you. Appreciate it.
thank you. You're always wonderful.
Sue, nice
And
to see
listen,
you.
Sue's going to sing the national anthem at a run for us Thursday at the Turkey Trot.
At
She's
7
going to
a.m.
sing in front of 4,000 people.
All right.
Make sure you bring a lot of pens because you'll be signing a lot of autographs. We're so excited. That's the run, the Turkey Trot down. It starts at Edison House, and we're a big part of that. We, Stacy and Heidi and Eileen have gotten about Pedro over there. We think we got about 15 volunteers for that day. So the Turkey Trot, if anybody can get an opportunity to come down there, come on down and run your little legs off like little turkeys.
Oh, now I get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, give Cathy a nice round of applause.
Let's give Cathy a round of applause.
We're going to take another break right now. When we do come back, we have Alan and Kelly as our entertainment tonight. They are Nashville recording artists. We'll be right back after this.
Struggling with life's challenges? At the Next Step, we're here to guide you to a brighter tomorrow. Whether it's counseling, recovery support, or simply finding hope, we provide the tools and community to help you rise. Take the first step toward healing today. Visit thenextstep.org and discover how we can support your journey to wellness. Remember, every step forward is a step toward a better you. The Next Step, your path to hope, starts here. With offices in Fort Myers and Naples, 844-639-8371.
Have you been charged with a crime? You could face serious penalties for conviction, and it is vitally important that you have skilled legal assistance on your side during this time. Call Brian L. Edwards, Esquire, Attorney at Law today. 888-512-6254. Results matter. With a track record of success, our methods are tried and true. Mistakes happen, but we can help. Brian L. Edwards, Esquire, Attorney at Law. Visit FortMyersCriminalLawFirm.com or call 888-512-6254.
Feeling trapped in addiction? White Sands Treatment Center offers more than just detox. We build lasting recovery. With 3 inpatient and 18 outpatient locations located throughout Florida, we offer services from medically supervised detox to inpatient, outpatient, and sober living programs. Our services include individual therapy, family therapy, life skills, and small group sizes. Our amenities include yoga and massage therapy with recreational activities, including gyms, pools, and spa. Newsweek has named White Sands one of America's best addiction treatment centers 5 years in a row. You deserve quality care in a safe, supportive setting. Call White Sands Helpline at 833-423-2338 or visit whitesandstreatment.com and start your recovery journey today.
Welcome to Holy Spark. At Holy Spark, we bring power and reliability to every job. From panel upgrades and EV chargers to lighting installations and troubleshooting, we're dedicated to keeping your home and business running safely and efficiently. With expert craftsmanship, honest service, and free estimates, you can count on us to deliver electrical solutions that shine bright. Contact us today at holy-spark.net or call 239-789-6832.
Not everyone has the luck of the Irish. If a friend or family member is in trouble, call Shamrock Bell Bonds. Put our number into your phone, 239-332-2245, 239-332-2245, or go online at gobailmeout.com. Shamrock Bell Bonds provides fast, reliable service. Shamrock Bell Bonds, 1528 Broadway, downtown Fort Myers. Look for the Shamrock, and maybe luck will be on your side.
Hello, I'm Michael Manzi, owner of JCI Solutions, 239-672-2673. When starting this company 3 years ago, I had no clue that we would grow to what we have become. There is one thing I can say that we have done from the beginning is take pride in our work, making sure every customer we do work for is satisfied from beginning to end. Offering residential painting all the way to commercial painting with jobs done in a timely manner, with highly skilled professionals giving you top-of-the-line work. To help you create your new look, call JCI Solutions, 239-672-2673.
Struggling with addiction? You're not alone. At Phoenix House Project, we believe in second chances and brighter tomorrows. Our proven programs offer support, hope, and tools to rebuild your life. With expert care and a community that understands, transformation starts here. It's time to rise, reclaim your life, and become the best version of yourself. Visit phoenixhouseproject.squarespace.com today or call 239-244-7876. The journey to recovery begins with sober living. Phoenix House Project, where hope takes flight.
Kimmies Recovery Zone, where hope meets action. We're here to guide the journey from treatment to thriving, healthy living. With peer support, public education, and vital resources like housing, employment, and Narcan training, we're building stronger communities. Ready to make an impact? Together, we're creating a network of recovery, resilience, and renewed lives. Kimmies Recovery Zone, your hub for healing and hope. Visit us online today at kimmiesrecoveryzone.org. It's not how we survive, it's how we thrive.
When children have to play inside so they don't disappear.
Welcome back to Rated R for Recovery.
Welcome back, everybody, to Rated R for Recovery, ratedrforrecovery.com on the internet and on the Facebook. And you know something, what I forgot to mention, guys? That I forgot to mention that we broadcast on YouTube each and every week. The shows are up there. All of them are up there. So what I'd like you to do, if you're sitting at home in the comfort of your own living room, in a big easy chair, and you got that phone out, and go on the YouTube and hit the like and subscribe button when you're watching it. I don't know why I'm talking like I got a southern accent all of a sudden, but I am. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure. Oh, by the way, well, we could do this. We're going to do this twice. Next week, if you're watching next week, Dr. Andreyko, is that with Andreyko? He's an emergency room and ER doctor, and he's going to talk about all the things that he gets to be involved in. I was going to say gets to see, but that sounds like it's exciting when all the trauma that he is being able to help with the families and the people that suffer from what we suffer with. And right now, by the way, and our first guest is our own associate producer, Eileen Kay, who's going to come on and tell her story. Yes, absolutely. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the entertainment portion of the show, and these two people have been husband and wife. They are champions in their own right in recovery, doing God's work. And it is just thank you both so much for never saying no. You guys never say no to anything. So, well, within reason, of course, but yes, within reason. And ladies and gentlemen, Nashville recording artists, Alan and Kelly.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Rated R for Recovery. We are Alan and Kelly, and if you are on YouTube, you can feel free to look us up as well. It's ALLEN and KELLY. We're going to start off with a song called Let Go. We actually just released a YouTube video of this song, and it's something we wrote about a year ago when we needed to let go.
My grip is so tight, won't put the past behind. Try to control and arrange things I can't change. change. It only keeps dragging me down. I've got to let go. I've got to let go. Live and let live. Forget and forgive. It's not easy, but even so, I've got to let go. Can't take back what I did. Hold on to these what ifs. These what ifs I carry inside. Relive in my mind. It only keeps dragging me down. I've got to let go. I've got to let go. Live and let live. Forget and forgive. It's not easy, but even so, I've got to let go. I've got to let go. What's done is over with. When we hang on, nobody wins. I've got to let go. I've got to let go. We've got to let go. We've got to let go. Live and let live. Forget and forgive. It's not easy, but even so, we've got to let go. We've got to let go. We've got to let go. We've got to let go.
Now, that was absolutely wonderful. And tell people at home, pardon me for just coming in like this, but it's what I do. Yeah. Tell people at home how to get your music, how to listen to your music.
Well, we do have a website, which is allenandkelly.com. Again, ALLEN and KELLY.com. From there, you can find out anything going on with our music. It's anywhere you can stream or buy music. It's on all of the platforms from Apple to Spotify, YouTube, etc.
And you know, it's funny you say that, Kelly, because those are all the venues or the ways you can hear Rated R for Recovery too.
You could get your stuff and our stuff downloaded.
I think so.
I think 2 for 1 deal.
I think so.
This is great.
Pardon me. I think so. I'm getting very excited. Okay. So would you guys do one more song?
We'd love to.
Absolutely.
Alan and Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you, Rated R for Recovery, for having us. Thank you to Kimmies. This place means a lot to us. This is where we started our recovery meetings back when it first started. And it's just really an honor to be a part of it, to listen to the story of Pedro, just amazing, and the creativity story. But this one's going out to all of you. I wrote this in like 2008 with 2 of my best friends from Nashville, and never thought I'd be playing it here in Florida, but
Here we are.
Here we are, going out to all of you. It's called Trying My Best to Live. I've had a lot of demons to battle down, jumped out of planes that never left the ground. I've made enough mistakes to fill a lifetime, but I'm still here. I've heard old men talk about their regrets, taking the easy road with safer bets. But I don't want to be a prisoner of my deep, dark fears. I'm just trying my best to live, so I don't look back and say, what if? Can't win if I don't try, never want to ask why. Didn't give everything I had to give. I'm just trying my best, I'm trying my best to live. Trying my best. Don't have to be near death to make a bucket list. Let imperfect love spoil a new first kiss. Wait till someone asks me to pitch in, to lend a helping hand. Thank you, Kimmies, for always doing that. You gotta take a lot of risks to ride the perfect wave. Lose a lot of golf balls, that's how the game is played. The more I put into this life, I'll get it back times 10. Yeah, I'm just trying my best to live, so I don't look back and say, what if? Can't win if I don't try, never wanna ask why. Didn't give everything I had to give. I'm just trying my best, I'm trying my best to live with the fact I ain't Superman, but you bet I'm gonna live like I am. Just trying my best to live, so I don't look back and say, what if? Can't win if I don't try, never want to ask why. Didn't give everything I had to give. I'm just trying my best, I'm trying my best to live. I'm trying my best to live. I'm trying my best, I'm trying my best, I'm trying my best, I'm trying my best to live. How about Ben Kirsch on that guitar? Thank you so much.
That was wonderful. That was wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. So you can get their music on Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, and all other streaming services. And
For recovery, if you find us here, you can listen.
I was just about to say that, Alan. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to bring Al up here, but I don't know if he's around anymore. So, Al, you want to come up here and do what we're going to call, Alan and Kelly, what do you think about this recovery roundup? Which is how we'll end the show, and we're rounding everything up and see what it is. Because we have a lot of events going on. There's toy drives, there's turkey trots, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And also, ladies and gentlemen, so if we don't talk about that, well, we can talk about, and the three of us can talk about it, and that is the holiday season for people that are sad and alone. And what do we do? What do we do? Normally, or not normally, but in the past, I've turned to drugs and alcohol. So that's not an option for me today. So what do we do? Do we volunteer to feed the homeless? Are other suggestions that you guys have? What have you found that has worked for you in the holiday season?
Ironically, even though it's a time where there's a lot going on, it's also a time where many feel the most alone. And so I think getting out of isolation is key. if it's getting to your meetings, getting to a church, getting with your sponsor, getting into community, whatever that looks like for you, in a time where you might feel tempted to stay in, it's darker out earlier and all of that, right? So getting out around the community, getting out around people, and
Absolutely.
sticking close to God.
And if you subscribe to a 12-step fellowship, AANACA, CR, most of these fellowships have what's called alcathons. And these are places at clubhouses that you can go to, and some of them serve turkey dinners, but what it is revolving recovery 24 hours. You seem to have a liken to that.
When I lived in New Jersey is when I first started getting into recovery. My first sponsor, who I love dearly, picked me up one night while I was still drinking to try to help me, and he dropped me off at one of those things, threw me on the couch, and you're going to sit here with these people that'll love you, and they loved me, and they helped me, regardless of what was going on, and I'll never forget it, but those alcathons help.
It's funny you should say that, because you've never actually told your story on the show, have you?
I haven't.
Oh, I think you should.
If they invite me, I will definitely do it.
So any more
That was funny.
suggestions for people during the holiday seasons?
Yeah, how about baking cookies? I have a teacher at my school, her dad set a goal to bake 1 million cookies before he died. And he made it to like 986,000 cookies. So we're trying to spread the word to our friends, bake cookies. And once you bake them, well, you can send us the amount, and then you can bring them to homeless shelters. You could bring them to places and just, I'll eat some for sure. But bake them, and try to do something good for our community here in Fort Myers.
Absolutely. I like the community idea. I'm all about that. I'm just not a baker.
That's okay.
I'm not a candlestick maker either. So there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching tonight. Talk about us on the internet and get us around to your friends. Alan and Kelly will be back at another time. In fact, we've already got your book, but I just don't have my book in front of me. But don't forget, next week we have a doctor that works in the emergency room at the local hospital, and Eileen Kay will be our first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Have a good time and stay sober. Good night.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, stop it.